Episode 5 of Resilience to the Core podcast with to believe that into doing these weekly podcasts. So tonight I put a bit on things, and instead of interviewing somebody, there's this very, very strong feeling of spring in the air. And comes change and new beginnings. We definitely do not need waiting January or for the new year. So tonight is all about if you are feeling like there's something missing in your life, if you are feeling like you give, but you actually just don't know how to get from where you are to where you want to be, then we, as well as Facebook and YouTube. So I'm really putting it out there that tonight we're not going to have internet, even though my laptop internet. Everything that I share tonight is really from my own personal experience. There is a little bit of a disclaimer. This is stuff that I really, really have experienced firsthand. So take it, don't take it, try it, don't try it. It really has worked for me. And all I can say is it's definitely things that have changed my life. So last year, this time, I was in a very, very different space. I was literally lying in hospital with what was diagnosed as a nervous breakdown. And I was being seen by a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Hang with me if you've heard the story. So I was given heaps of medication. I underwent sleep therapy. I did group therapy, you name it, I did it. And after 10 full days in hospital, I woke up one morning and I realized, you know what? Nobody's going to be able to help me. They've tried and nothing seemed to be working. So I put a spring in my step, and they call it faking it until you make it. And I literally pretended that everything was fine. I walked into the psychiatrist's office and he said to me, "Wow, you look amazing. We've got to make a plan to get you out of here." And so mission accomplished, right? No, not right. In actual fact, I was no better, except I knew that they actually couldn't help me anymore. So fast forward to today, it's literally a year later, and I can honestly say that it feels like every single thing in my life has turned 180 degrees. And the things that I've found are what I call little pearls of wisdom, and they really are gems. And I wish with all my heart that I had known these things a year ago, because I think it would have been a lot easier if I had known these things to get out from where I was to where I am now. So for 10 years, I was on antidepressants, and I had been told by doctors that this is a chemical imbalance in your brain and that you will be on this forever because you went through a stressful time, and because of that, you won't be able to get off them. So I haven't touched an antidepressant in a year, and I'm not telling you that you need to do that. So please, this is another disclaimer with regards to medication. Again, I'm telling you what my mind had made up and how drastically I changed, and how something I was believing was actually not true. So there are 5 things that we're going to be discussing tonight, and I'm going to go through them and unpack them one by one. And hopefully, grab a piece of paper, take some notes. If you have some questions, I'd love you to pop them in the chat. I really hope that I can help you. If I can't, we can get in touch later and we can have a little chat. So the very, very first thing, and I live by this and I swear by this, was the very thing that was lacking was that little word which we call self-love. So the reason that I had gotten to the stage that I was in was because I was treating myself really, really badly. So self-love seems to be a bit of a buzzword at the moment. You go onto any social media platform and you see it all over the place. But nobody had really told me what it means, and I kind of had to figure it out for myself. So, this is a little summary, but it is way more in depth than this. I truly believe that our sole purpose for living on this earth is to learn to love and accept ourselves exactly as we are. I believe that it is a journey without a destination, and it is something that you will do and you'll do really well, and then you'll fall off the horse and then you'll get back. So it really is something that you grow into a destination. So what is it? What does it even look like? So first of all, before I go any further, I'd like to just say the reason that we find it so difficult to love ourselves and accept ourselves as we are is because of something that is going on in our heads. It's a tape, it's a story, and move all the blocks before we can even try this new way. Okay, so you might be thinking to yourself, you might not be thinking it consciously, but you might be thinking to yourself that self-love is selfish. That if I make myself a priority, myself before anybody else, that's really selfish. You might be thinking that self-love. You might be thinking that taking time for yourself or acknowledging yourself for a job well done is really like vain and again arrogance. But I really need you to understand that if you want to be the self, you have to love yourself. So if you want to show up for your loved ones, for your children, in your relationships, with your friendships, putting yourself first is as important as the oxygen that you breathe. And I'm sure you remember, I've heard it before, of a plane that's going down. What does the air hostess say? Looking after yourself first means you're going to be a happier, calmer, more content. So that's number one. So you need to know that it's not selfish. You need to know that it is not arrogant. And in actual fact, it's vital if you want to take your life to the next level. So the very thing that I shifted with regards to feeling like I was really, really rock bottom was to love myself. So another way that you start to love yourself more is to start to notice how you speak to yourself. Speaking to yourself with kindness and reprogramming the program that you have going on in your head is sometimes a little bit easier said than done, but the first step is to notice. So you need to notice what kind of words you say to yourself. I always use this example in my training, and I always used to just call myself an idiot. It wasn't really a big thing. I used to forget something and go, "Oh, you stupid idiot." But if you keep repeating those words, are you building yourself up or are you breaking yourself down? So if you had to stand there calling somebody an idiot every single day, would they feel better about themselves? So it really doesn't matter in a joke or not. The fact is you need to start noticing how you speak to yourself, because that voice in your head is the very voice that is either keeping you stuck or moving you forward. And the very first step, like I said, is just noticing it and then reprogram. What I started to do was, the minute I realized I had said something that was critical or really not nice, I would quickly replace it with 3 acknowledgements, 3 positive things, to try to undo what I had just said. The next thing that's very important with regards to self-love is making yourself a priority. So that means somebody needs you, but right now you're not in a good space. You tell them to just hold on, I'll be with you in a minute. I just tend to myself first. I'm first going to look after myself. And in the beginning, it is very difficult. In the beginning, what I used to do was I would take 20 minutes a day at the same time, where I used to go and sit on my hands. This was when I had my children. And then I would not move. And I would say, okay, for the next 20 minutes, I'm not going to do anything other than sit here. Because otherwise, what I was doing is running around for everybody else and definitely putting myself last. So it really is creating a new behavior. Life can just get so serious. And we kind of just want some happiness and we want some joy. However, we're kind of waiting for it. Sometimes it's not to us. In actual fact, sometimes it's not going to come to us. We need to bring forward. So you need to bring the joy. You need to bring the happiness. More than anything, you need to find that you love and to do more of them. So a really good activity that I used to do was I used to keep a list of the things that I love doing. And what I would do is I would just write every single day. When I realized I loved doing this, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to do at least two that I love today. So life can get so serious and life can get so busy. And then we just forget to do the things we love. So treating yourself with kindness and showing yourself self-love means you need to do more of the things that you love. So that's a biggie, biggie. So if somebody does something, having connective connection is, if somebody does something and somebody does something to your loved ones, your children in particular, how quick are you to forgive them? You forgive them in a blink of an eye, in a heartbeat. It's not ourselves up and play that tape over and over and over again. That is not self-love. That is not treating yourself with kindness. And that is definitely not the way you can build yourself up and take yourself to the next level. So notice you make a mistake, say, what did I learn? And then move on. In the beginning, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the quicker it happens. So in the beginning, you might been used to days and eventually then one day. And then eventually it's like, wow, I got over that in 10 minutes. Lesson learned, and on we move. The next thing that you need to do if you're wanting to love yourself and treat yourself with kindness and really instill that deep self-love is to spend time every single day, quiet time, reflecting. You know, I truly believe that when I am at my best, it's when I've reflected on my day and said, what did I do? What could I have done better? How have I grown? So just a little bit of self-reflection time as opposed to go every single day. So that was the first thing, was the self-love. So I've just mentioned some of the things, but if I have to be honest with you, there is tons of information out there. Start to notice. Noticing is the very first step. Now, whether you believe it or whether you don't, it's very real. So think about a day that started badly and think about it if it got worse. So that's exactly one of the examples of when you're not in the right frame of mind and when you're in a negative space, you definitely keep attracting negativity. So if I look at this table now under a microscope, you will see that it looks still on the outside, but underneath the microscope it is completely not still. It is molecules that are moving all at the same pace. When you look at us under a microscope, it's completely different. We have molecules that are moving at different speeds with different spaces. And what that means is that we are an energy. We are energy, and we need to make sure that that is a positive energy, because you keep attracting the wrong stuff. So the thing about the law of attraction is it works every single time without fail. Now, to know this, but you are so much more powerful than what you think. And let me tell you, if there's an area of your life right now that you're not happy with, if you look at all the areas of our life, health and fitness, relationships, relationship with yourself, finances, recreation, if you look at all those areas of your life, if there is one that is really, really at an all-time low, it really, really is because you've created that. I'm sorry. I know that's not nice to hear, but you're not to blame, but you're responsible. So this is not a time for you to beat yourself up and say, you know what, I have no money. How can it be? Okay, so if that means I created, I'm going to beat myself up. That's not what we're doing tonight. What we are doing is we're looking deep and we want to see why that area isn't so great. Remember, tonight is about taking yourself to the next level, from going, if you feel stuck, from where you are to where you want to be. So I'm going to speak about beliefs in a minute, but you need to know that what you put out is what you attract. So if you are believing that you are broke, be broke. If you are believing that life is hard, that's all you're going to attract. And sometimes you don't even know you're believing us. And 5% of our thinking is conscious. That is little we know of what is really going on in our heads. But the law of attraction is 3, which is your words and your thoughts become things. So a little while I did a 21-day self-love challenge, and it really was met with that challenge. And the thing that they noticed the most, or that they missed, was they couldn't believe that what they said was really what happened. So they would say things to me like, I never realized how many times in the day I said I was tired, and then I was tired. So the next day, what I tried to do was I faked it until I made it until I made it. In the beginning, I would say, I've got so much energy. I've got so much energy. I've got so much energy. The day I thought about it and I was like, oh my living soul. Today I had so much energy only because. So now you need to look very carefully at the words that you're telling yourself. My children are pros at catching me on this. They'll go, oh, don't say that, or unsay that, or like, we don't want it to come into fruition, so we quickly replace it with something else. So your words become things. So it's, if you change, everything change. And that means that's fully in your control. Are you in control of the words that come out of your mouth? Of course you are. So sometimes the first words are habitual, but then you can catch them and you can replace them with something else. So words that is a huge, huge part. If you wake up every day and tell yourself, I hate my job, I'm telling you, it's not going to make your job any easier. If you wake up every morning and tell yourself, life sucks and life is really, really hard, attracting wrong stuff. So in the beginning, even though I was broke, I had to say to myself things like, I have ample money, I have ample money, I have ample money. Until eventually that started to happen. Okay, so that's your words. Yeah. And it's got to do with your thoughts. And again, it's all about noticing. But it brings me to beliefs. So whatever you are believing is 100% correct and true. And that is in your reality. Now, are you in control? Now you are fully in control of what you believe. So up until now, you might not know what you believe. So this is what I do. I take one area at a time and I say, okay, money. I write it on a piece of paper and I say, what is it that I believe about money? and I just start writing it out like a big mind map. It's really hard to make money. There's not enough money. Every single thing that I can think about when it comes to money. And then I take a step back and I look at it objectively and I go, okay, is believing this actually going to bring in more money, or is it going to push it away? Remember, whatever you think, whatever you say is what you bring into reality. So your words and your thoughts become things. You are fully in control of your words. You are fully in control of your thoughts. You might not have thought you were up until now, but we have to find them to be able to shift them. So let me ask you, what is it that you're believing at the moment that isn't serving you? Take one thing for me. Take one thing that you're struggling with, whether it's a relationship with somebody. Take that thing and say to yourself, what is it that I'm thinking about this relationship? What is it that I am telling myself about this relationship that isn't true? And then ask yourself, how is it possible for me to shift this? Now, the only way that I shift my beliefs is by saying to myself, okay, when I'm believing this, this is how I show up in the world. So let me give you an example. When I am believing that money is really hard to make, how do I show up? Okay, I feel like it's a burden that I'm carrying on my shoulders, which means I'm kind of down and depressed, which means that I don't have the energy that I want to have, which means I don't give the people that I love the best of me. So what do I do instead? I say to myself, again, you might have to fake it in the beginning, but let me tell you, I promise you it's going to shift if you're consistent about this. So then I start saying things like, money is really easy to make. I have a fully functioning brain and I just need to get creative about how to make money. So this is how I coach myself. This is how you can coach yourself. So whatever you're believing is 100% going to either keep you stuck or move you forward. We have two types of beliefs. We have limiting beliefs and we have infinite beliefs. The infinite beliefs are the ones that push you forward, that get you to reach your goals. Those aren't the ones we need to be changing. Those are things like life is beautiful. I'm so lucky to be alive. Those aren't the ones that we need shifting. It's the ones that are keeping us stuck, like life is hard. I am broke. People can't be trusted. There's no time. Yeah, but Candace, there is no time. Well, when you believe that, how do you show up? Oh, I rush around and I'm always trying to chase my tail and it never feels like I'm getting anything done. Okay, so it's not serving you. So now, how do we shift that? Tell yourself, I have ample time. And the truth, how do you know? Because I have a to-do list today that isn't finished, but that's normal. And you're still meeting your deadlines, you're still getting the things done that you want to get done. So the truth, there's always enough time. So those are your words. So if I can recap a little bit. So step one is 100% start to learn to love yourself. Make it a personal goal. Research it. Go onto social media. Find everything that you possibly can. Follow my Grit Grow page. I often always post things about self-love. The next thing is start to do some research on the law of attraction and notice your words and your thoughts. Then you're going to look deeply into your beliefs. And when you go into your beliefs and you start to see things that aren't serving you, then you can start to shift them. Now, the very last thing, which I absolutely love and which I really recommend to every single person that comes through my doors in my coaching, it changes their life within 24 hours. There is a quote by John C. Maxwell, which says, "You will never change your life until you change something that you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine." So if you are waking up in the morning and literally going, I've got to get going, I've got to do this, I've got a to-do list, your life is never going to change. So you need to shift something in your daily routine. And let me tell you what I did, which was a game changer. I started to wake up in the beginning just 20 minutes earlier, and then I extended it to 30 minutes earlier, and then 40, and then 50. And now I wake up 3 hours earlier and do personal development before I even start my day. But on the days that I don't do that personal development, my days are not as productive. My days are not as magical. I don't attract the work that I know that I'm supposed to be attracting. In actual fact, my days are just not the quality that I know they should be. So, what I started to do was I would wake up in the morning and I would have a cup of coffee. Well, actually, first, just quickly drink a glass of water because you dehydrated, you haven't had anything to drink all night. Have a cup of coffee and just spend time quietly. And then I used to start meditating. So, for those of you who think meditation is really something that isn't beneficial, I just urge you to try it. With regards to stress, anxiety, depression, any kind of thing that you're struggling with mentally, there's been so much research to say that meditation is the very thing that helps people to cope better. So, waking up in the morning, 10 minutes of meditation. The next thing that I do is, I don't know if you know what tapping is. But again, I'm going to remind you that we're an energy field. And if you go onto YouTube and you just research tapping for self love, tapping for abundance, tapping for a productive day, tapping for whatever you feel like you want to work on that day. And then what you do is you just follow whoever's on the screen and you just repeat what they're saying. And it's a Chinese philosophy, and it's got to do with your energy field and your chakras, and it's about clearing out all the stagnant energy. So you just repeat what they're saying, and you use all the different meridians, what's one's above your eye, next to your eye, underneath your eye, under your nose, under your lip, on your collarbone, and under your arm. And it literally is just this little mantra that you repeat. And I promise you, there's been times when I've woken up with a headache and I've done tapping for 10 minutes and the headache has disappeared. So they have so much research. There's movies made on this where they ask people to give their pain a number out of 10. So there's people that are sitting there with chronic pain and they're saying 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, I'm in agony. And then they do this whole tapping routine and they say, okay, so what is it now? And most of them go down to a 5 or below. So try it. What have you got to lose? So I do meditation, I do tapping, and then I set my intention for the day. So it's so funny because on the days that I don't set my intention for the day, my days are not as productive. So I don't want you to set the intention of a to-do list. Okay, thank you. I have a message that's come through to say thank you for the inspiration. It makes us check in with ourselves. Thank you very much. So with regards to setting the routine for your intention for the day, I just think to myself, how do I want to show up today? So I want to be calm. I don't want to react. I want to respond. I want to care for myself and I want to bring joy. So today I'm going to say that everybody that I meet, I'm going to put a smile on their face, whether it's the petrol attendant, whether it's the cashier, whether it's your work colleague, it really doesn't matter. Somebody on the phone, your children. And then guess what happens? That's exactly what happens. So visualizing your day and setting your intention for the day is the very thing that John C. Maxwell speaks about. He says that your life is never going to change until you change something that you do in your daily routine. And if you look at all the gurus out there, all successful people, your Jay Shettys, your Kerwin Rays, your Steve Harveys, I'm trying to think of else, your Forbes Riley, they all have a morning routine which is non-negotiable. Okay, but here's the part. I tried to have a morning routine for years and years and years. I wrote blogs on it, endless blogs on it, but I couldn't stick to it until I started to love myself. The minute I started to love myself, the morning routine was really easy because I knew I wasn't going to settle for anything but the best because that's what I deserved. So these are just some really, really practical thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. And more than anything, you need to know that you are so much more powerful than what you think. And now I'm going to take a big leap of faith, like a gigantic leap of faith. And every time I say this, when I'm in training, I get a little bit of resistance. And that's okay as well. But your external circumstances are a direct replica of what is going on inside of you. So if you are living in a chaotic world where you feel like nothing is going right, it's time for you to stop and check in and go, how am I in my emotional space? If I'm not emotionally okay, it's going to show up in my external circumstances. So when you start to do these things, when you start to love yourself more, when you start to believe in and change your words and your thoughts, and you look into your beliefs and you change your daily routine. Another thing that I didn't say, but to do personal development and to continuously grow, that's a big part of self-love. You just never, ever happy to just be where you're constantly reading, learning, workshops. That's a big part of it. And until you do those things, and when you start to do those things, you're going to start to notice little things. Now, let me tell you what kind of things you're going to notice. You're going to notice things like it's easier to get up in the morning. You're going to notice things like it's money isn't so tight suddenly. You're going to start to notice things, people smiles more, the beauty in nature. Things that really used to irritate you, like traffic or people cutting you off or people being late, they're just going to roll off your back like water off a duck's back. So again, I'm going to repeat that your internal circumstances, external circumstances are a direct of your internal circumstances. But that's fantastic news. It's fantastic news because you are in charge of your internal emotions. And yes, it is absolutely take a bit of work. But guess what? It's worth it. It's totally worth it. Now, the last thing I want to say just before I leave is, or that we end this podcast, is you need to also stop thinking that change is so difficult. If you tell yourself every day change is difficult, personal development is difficult, going to the gym is difficult, eating healthy is difficult, guess what? It will be difficult. So, again, in the beginning, you're going to have to fake it until you make it. But it really is easier than you think. So often, I think something's going to be terribly difficult, and I take the first step. That's the giant leap that you need to take. And the rest is just magical. So, I'm very much results driven. All of the stuff that I practice and I implement into my own life is only because of the rapid results that I see. I am very impatient when it comes to seeing results. I do not want to sit and work on the same thing for 2 years and not get through it. So these things are kind of like a bit of a biohack. So I really hope that you enjoyed the session tonight. And next week, same time, we'll be going into episode 6. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week.